We begin with the set of natural numbers, n. Natural numbers are equally called the set of cardinal numbers. The first natural number being 0, and then we have 1, 2, 3, and so on. All natural numbers are whole numbers. N star represents a set of natural numbers excluding 0. In the world of natural numbers, there are two types of identity elements. We have the additive identity element, which is 0, and the multiplicative identity element, which is 1. Let's start with the additive identity element, 0. The additive identity element is that number that when you add to any number, the number remains the same or unchanged, and that number is 0. Under this operation, the additive inverse of any number is the negative of that number. For example, the additive inverse of 2 is minus 2, additive inverse of 11 is minus 11. And for the multiplicative identity element, which is 1, 1 is that number that when you multiply any number by 1, the number remains unchanged. Under this operation, the inverse, that's the multiplicative inverse of any element, is 1 divided by that element. So it's just the same as the reciprocal of element. Oops, let's recall equally that sum means addition, difference is subtraction, product is multiplication, and quotient is addition. In this operation as well, 29 divided by 7 giving us 4, remainder 1. Note that 29 here is the dividend, 7 the divisor, 4 the quotient, and 1 the remainder. Like the song we always sing from 4 or 5, dividend divided by divisor equals quotient plus a remainder. And note, if the remainder is 0, it means that the divisor is a factor of the dividend. Equally, we have the set of integers, and integers are positive and negative whole numbers represented by the letter capital Z, ranging from negative infinity to positive infinity. Z star represents the set of integers excluding 0, and Z plus means positive integers, and positive integers are the same like natural numbers. You equally have negative integers, which are negative numbers from negative infinity right down to 0. Here you have to take note that the number 0 is a neutral number. It is both a positive number and a negative number, and as well all the sets which you have mentioned so far are infinite sets. Oops, recall as well that addition and multiplication are commutative operations. Why? Because when you swap the positions of the numbers before and after the operation, the results remain the same. For example, A times B is the same as B times A. 2 times 5 is the same as 5 times 2 gives the same result, and it holds same for addition. 2 plus 5 is the same as 5 plus 2, the results are the same. That's why we say these operations are commutative. Note, however, that subtraction and division do not follow the same rules. They are not commutative at all. Multiplication has another property which is unique to it. It is distributive over addition and subtraction. Let's look at an example of the distributive property. You have 2 into 5 plus 4. You can equally write it as 2, or for another example, 2 into 5 minus 4. So here we see that 2 into 5 plus 4 can be written as 2 times 5 in brackets plus another bracket 2 times 4. Here multiplication is distributive over addition. If I now replace the addition sign with subtraction, we say it is distributive over subtraction. Take note on the following. Rational numbers, that is capital Q, that's their representation, are fractions. Rationals are fractions. Irrational numbers are numbers in the root form. For example, you have root 2, root 5, root 7, root 11, and so on. Real numbers, represented by capital R, are numbers that exist. N star is a subset of the set of N, and N is the same as Z plus. Z plus is a subset of Z, and Z is a subset of R set relations. Let's take a look at intervals. In mathematics, there are generally 3 types of intervals. We have open intervals, closed intervals, and half intervals. Let's start with the open interval. It is represented like this, or using, that is square brackets, using square brackets the first case, but the brackets are not closed, or using open, that's the normal brackets, AB, or this is the third representation using inequalities. So it can be represented in one of these three ways, and the number line can equally give another representation. Now, when it's represented like this, open interval means the boundaries are not included. For example, with the last one, -2 and -3 are not included. So if I have to give the whole numbers in this interval, I will have -1, 0, 1, and 2. And representing this on the number line, I have from -2 to 3, but the -2 and -3 are not included, so I do not shade the circles. Then we have half intervals. We can be half open, half closed, or half closed, half open. In this first case here, we have open at B and closed at A, opened at C and closed at D, open at B and closed at A, opened at C and closed at D. The second one that's been shown is completely closed. So if you have this half interval, you can see that using inequalities, one of the inequality has an equal to sign, the other one does not. It means that it's a half interval. So the elements here, 2, that's -2 is included, but 3 is not included. So -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, if I'm to give the whole numbers in this interval. So using the number line as well, it is closed at -2, so we shade, but we do not shade at 3. And then for closed intervals, we have complete square brackets that are closed. So it's represented with square brackets, and for each of the inequalities used, the equal to sign is included, and their number line representation, the circles are shaded. Circles. Now take note on the following: 8 minus 2 times 3 is not equal to 18, because most students will say 8 minus 2, 6 times 3, 18. Wrong. You have to apply the knowledge of board mass, and that will give you a result of 2. So you start with 2 times 3, which is 6. Now 8 minus 6 gives 2. Another example, root 16 is not equal to 8. That's the square root of 16 is not 8. Most students just divide by 2. Square root does not mean divide by 2. The square root of 16 means, what is that number that when you multiply by itself, it will give you 16? And that number is 4, since 4 times 4 is 16. Then equally we have, is 4 a prime number? 4 is not a prime number. 4 is a composite number. So 4 has more than 2 factors. For a number to be a prime number, it must have only 2 factors. The first factor is 1. The second factor is itself. But 4 has broken this rule by having factors 1, 2, and 4. So it has 3 factors. Equally, note that 1 is not a prime number, and 1 is not a composite number. This other one to note, is a half a decimal fraction? No. For a number to be a decimal fraction, the denominator must be a power of 10. That is, the denominator must be something like 10 or 100 or 1000 or 10,000 and so on, the power of 10. So a half is a binary fraction because the denominator is 2. So it's a binary fraction and not a decimal fraction. Take note, which sign indicates strictly greater than? You can just say strictly greater than or just greater than. So strictly greater than here is A. That's the result. B is strictly less than or just less than. C is greater than or equal to. And D is less than or equal to. You can watch the other videos from My Math Angel on YouTube, and most of these things have been explained there very well. My Math Angel. Just type My Math Angel on YouTube and you get all of this. Now you can equally attend quiz 1A online visiting our blog www.gcemathpanel.blogspot.com. But for those who have registered, you can just go into the classroom and you get your quiz there. Now let's take more of this. Express 24 as a product of its prime factors. So this will give us, that is 40. 40 will be equal to 2 times 20, and that will be equal to 2 times 2 times 10. 10 can be broken down to 2 times 5, and finally 40 is 2 to the power 3 times 5. as a product of its prime factors. Then similarly 24 is the same as 2 to the power 3 times 3, or 2 to the power 3 times 3 to the power 1. Note that leaving out the power 1 just means the same thing. Simplify root 48. To do the simplification, you have to first of all look for the square number that is found in 48, and that square number is 16. So root 48 is the same as root 16 times 3, but 16 is a square number, so that will give us 4 times root 3, and this number has been simplified or broken down. Similarly, root 125 is 25 times 5, that's the root of that, which is 5 root 4. Hello dear students, and welcome to quiz 1A correction on YouTube. I hope you are all doing well as we prepare to launch this academic year in this mathematics preparation. We'll just go directly to the equations, and question 1 reads, the symbol indicated represents. Now whenever this symbol points to the left, it is read as less than. To the right, it is greater than. If it points to the left with a bar under, it is read less than or equal to. And if it points to the right with a bar under, it is read greater than or equal to. So the key to this question is less than or equal to. Question 2. Base 10 numbers are called, all base 10 numbers are called decimal numbers. And these decimal numbers are, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, up to 9. 10, 11, and so on are not numbers or digits in base 10. Binary numbers are base 2, octal numbers are base 8, and hexadecimal are base 16. Question 3. The set of cardinal numbers is represented as. In the past lesson, I explained to you that cardinal numbers is another way of saying natural numbers. So whenever you hear of cardinal numbers, you think of natural numbers, because we mostly talk about the cardinality of a set, which you did in Form 3 and we're revising in Form 5 as well. Then Z represents a set of integers and R is a set of real numbers, while Q is a set of rational numbers, also called fractions. So we have integers Z, real numbers R, and rational numbers or fractions Q. 4. Which of these is a decimal fraction? A decimal fraction is a fraction whose denominator is a power of 10. That means the denominator can be 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, and so on. And the only decimal fraction here is 4 on 10. Question 5. Fractions whose denominators are powers of 10 are known as. When the denominator of a fraction is a power of 10, then it should be binary. And note that the binary digits are 0 and 1. Proper fractions, numerator is less than denominator. Decimal fractions, their bases are base 10, and vulgar fractions are the normal fractions that we know. Which of these alternatives is correct? The first one, naturals are subsets of naturals excluding 0. No. Rationals are superset of real numbers. No. 37 is not a fraction. No. Z star is equal to n. Well, looking at all these alternatives, there is no correct answer. For the first one, if they reverse the sign, it would have been correct. For the second, if they reverse the sign, it could have equally been correct. For the third, if they remove the bar and make it an element, it will be correct. And for the last one, if they add a plus after the Z, then it will equally be correct. For the last one, rather, if they replace the star by a plus, then it will be this, they will be the same. Question 7. 3 less than x less than or equal to 10 is written in interval notation as. With this question, you must note that the 3 is not included while 10 is included. So at the beginning, since 3 is not included, the capital, the bracket is, or the square bracket is open. It is open, it means the 3 is not inside. And since 10 is included, it is closed. So it's represented that way, as you can see it being indicated. Question 8. The smallest number that is divisible by 6 and 18 is, that's just the LCM, and it's 18. Question, the only prime number here is 2. A prime number is a number that has just 2 factors, 1 and itself. 1 is not a prime number. 4 is a composite number, as well as 0. Which of these is a composite number? Of course, we have just seen the only composite number here is 4. And a composite number has 3 or more factors. Please make sure you register and visit our YouTube page for corrections of this quiz and corrections of other past mathematics questions. We will equally be including physics as well for those who offer physics. And don't forget to visit our blog on www.gcemathspanel.blogspot.com, where we have our online page for the weekly quiz, weekly lessons, and the monthly mocks. Our complete program is on this page. You have to scan through the page to look for the program. Please don't forget to subscribe. Question 11. The temperature of a room at midday is 21 degrees Celsius and rises steadily by 1 degree Celsius at intervals of 15 minutes. What will be the temperature at 1:30 p.m. in degrees Celsius? So this question can be answered in 2 ways. The first way, we have at midday it is 21 degrees, at 12:15 it is 22, 12:30 is 23, 12:45 is 24, 1 o'clock is 25 degrees Celsius, 1:15 is 26 degrees Celsius, and at 1:30 it is 27 degrees Celsius, and that's the answer. Equally, we can do it this way. From 12 noon to 1:30 p.m., it is 1 hour 30 minutes, and this corresponds to 90 minutes. This 90 minutes, when divided by the 15, gives us 6 degrees increase. That is 6 intervals. And when we add the 6 degrees to 21, it gives us 27 degrees Celsius. 12, root 45 can be written as, we simplified this in a previous lesson. As for those who have gone through the lesson, if you have not gone through the lesson, visit the website and get a copy of the PDF and have an idea on what to do here. Root 45 is the same as root 9 times root 5, but root 9 is actually a square number. That gives us 3, so we leave it as 3 root 5. So it can be written as 3 root 5. Question 13. P root 2 equals root 72, and then the value of P is, here we can just divide both sides by root 2, and that will give us P to be equal to root 72 divided by root 2. And from the laws of roots, root 72 and root 2 can be written as root 72 over 2, and that gives us the square root of 36, which is equal to 6. The next question reads, the natural number here is, note that natural numbers are whole numbers and they are equally positive numbers, so they are positive whole numbers, and the only natural number here is 0. Question 15. Electric poles are 100 meters apart on a line. If the distance between n poles is 500 meters, find n. There's a lot of trick in this question, and many students will just look at the question and tick 5. There is a trick in it. The answer is not 5. Let's see what happens. Now let us line these poles and see. This is the first pole, the second pole, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. You see that this 500 meters distance corresponds to 6 poles. Note, the first pole begins, so it might not be counted. The first 100 meters is from the second pole and so on up to the sixth. So this total distance of 500 meters consists of 6 poles. Equally, you can say 500 divided by 100 plus 1, and that is going to give you the 6 poles as well. Question 16. The reciprocal of 5 is, the reciprocal of a number is just 1 over that number. So that gives us 1 on 5, and the key here is D. Then you equally have question 17. We have the additive identity element in the set of n is, recall that n is a set of natural numbers. And the additive identity element is that number that when you add to any number, it leaves the number unchanged. And only 0 has that property. So our key here is 0. Question 18, the multiplicative inverse of minus 5 is, note that the multiplicative inverse is just the same as the reciprocal of that number. And when you multiply a number by its multiplicative inverse, the result should be equal to 1. So 1 divided by minus 5 gives us minus 1/5. And this is the multiplicative inverse of minus 5. Question Question 20, which of these basic operations is distributive? Multiplication is distributive over addition and subtraction, and only multiplication has this property. For example, A into B plus C is the same as A times B plus A times C. And you can see that example, the same with subtraction if you replace the plus by minus. 21 reads, which of these is not binary digits? Note that binary digits are only zeros and ones. Those are only two binary digits. So 2 and 3 here are not binary digits. Question 22, a bag contains 400 sweets, and at the end of every 30 minutes, a half of the contents is removed. How many sweets will be left in 2 hours? This question can be answered in 2 ways, just like the other question I just explained. At the end of these 2 hours, 25 sweets will be left. So at the beginning, that's at the 0th hour, we have 400 sweets. In the next 30 minutes, a half is removed, so we have 200 sweets left. Then the next 30 minutes, 100 sweets are removed, that's a half of 200. At 1 hour 30 minutes, a half of 100 is 50, and at 2 hours, a half of 50 is 25. So we are left with 25 sweets. Or you can equally say that 2 hours corresponds to 4 intervals of 30 minutes, and that gives us 4 intervals. So a half to the power 4, because they are emptying a half of the sweet. So you have a half to the power 4 times the total at the beginning, and that gives us 25 sweets. And recall, this is exactly like a geometric progression, which we are going to see in subsequent lessons. Question 23, which of these is a triangular number? A triangular number is a number whose pattern can be represented using dots that forms a triangle. For example, let's take 10. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. That gives us 10. It can be represented using a triangle. Then you equally have 12, which can be represented using a rectangular number pattern or a square. Note that a square is a special type of rectangle in which all the sides are equal. Then we equally have 9, which is the same like a rectangle, which is the same rectangular number, as well as 12. Note, 10 can equally be represented as a rectangular number, but it is the only number here that can be represented as well as a triangular number. Question 24. Arrange in descending order of size. Descending order means going down, so from the biggest to the smallest. And when you look at this, the biggest number here from all of these numbers is root 0.5. And that gives us a value of 0.71. The next smaller number here is 0.69. The next is 68% or 0.68. And the last one is 2/3 or 0.67. So it is good we write all of them in decimal, and we can easily compare from there. And the last question reads, simplify 0.24 times 1.25 divided by 0.57 minus 0.09. Here you must note, this is a tricky question, and many students just go like this: 0.24 times 1.25 divided by 0.57 minus 0. You are going to fail it because it's a trick. What you have to do here is, you have to first of all simplify the numerator separately and simplify the denominator as well. Then you now combine the results. So from the numerator we have 0.3, and from the denominator we have 0.48. And when we divide this, we have 0.625 as our answer. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for the best